Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast.
All right, everyone. He's back. He's a returning guest. He's an illustrious guest. He's a journalist. He's an historian. He's a Bostonian. Okay. He is the author of Instead We Became Evil and On Track, The Chronicles of DJ Amir. He is the chair of Everyone 250. His recent work also includes Boston Legends in Mathematic Athletics. Folks, you know him, you love him. Please welcome back to the show. First time in like a year and a half, our friend Dart Adams.
Hey, it's always good to be here. It's always good to be here and working with y'all and spreading information because I'm old. Yeah, I enjoy doing this.
Oh man, we miss you. I mean, without you, we've number one haven't done any projects from the 80s because you're our official 80s representative. But here we're stepping out into the 90s, 1990, Dart.
That's right.
Another first in a season of firsts here. We're getting Dart not only for this, but he'll be on next week as well for kind of EP that is in some ways in conversation with this one. And yeah, we're in the 1990s for the first time with Dart Adams. Dart, welcome back, and we're happy to have you here.
Hey, 1990 was the summer I turned 15. A lot happened that summer. A lot.
Nice. Yeah, I was negative 3 years old.
You were pre-born.
Yeah.
You were pre-born. I was 3.
There you go.
Damn.
You know. So that's why we need you here for this context as usual.
Yeah. The beauty of 1990 was, guys, rap had just started this beautiful era of, especially going into the summer, of everyone being paranoid that everyone else was trying to cross over, thanks to MC Hammer and then Vanilla Ice. And then like Expression by Salt and Pepper and all these. So everybody was on edge because the record companies at first were very proud, very happy to have a record that could go sell 200,000, 250,000, 350,000 units. But when MC Hammer was selling 3, 4, 5 million units, and then Vanilla Ice was selling 3, 4, 5 million units, it suddenly wasn't enough to have the people on your roster have the occasional rapper go gold and go platinum. Now it was like, well, if it's on the Billboard Top 100 now, you motherfuckers should all be trying to go gold. So that's where 1990 comes in.
All right, so the standards have changed. Rap is now seen as a lucrative entity and not just something to kind of like put your stock into, you know, maybe it'll go somewhere. It's officially gone places. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we're here to discuss. We got this title track, first track on this NWA EP, 100 Miles And Runnin. Mm-hmm. Believe produced by DJ Yella, Dr. Dre, and Code 187.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, as is customary, you know, you being our guest in the building, if you would like to provide your rating first, you can do that, or you could have us set it up however you want to do it.
So I'm gonna give this a 9.
Okay. All right.
I think that's a first. I haven't heard Dart give a 9 on this show yet.
Yeah, that might be a first. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually I pick and it's already a 10, but there's a reason why this is a 9.
Okay.
So when we go talk about 100 Miles and Runnin, first of all, it's the first song on the EP. It's the title song of the EP. And it's NWA trying to convince everybody, hey, we're still the most dangerous group in America. Hey, look at us. Look at us. We're still the most dangerous group in America. Look. I know that when we released our last album, Straight Outta Compton, you see the album cover and you realize, wait a minute, we kicked the dude out before the album even came out. And then he went solo. Yeah, we know, brother A-Rab. All right. But we lost Cube. And losing Cube in NWA is equivalent to, like, I don't know, the Celtics losing Jason Tatum during a playoff run. You know?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And we're down 3-1. Like, we need this dude, you know? Like, so NWA was just like trying to convince everybody, hey, we still some bad motherfuckers. Okay? So 100 Miles and Running was basically that. And they were like, all right, so what do we need to do? One, we need to have this explosive, dynamic, kinetic beat. Right? We still got Dre, and we got Cole 187, who was one of the architects of G-Funk. People, he has to get his proper credit, with Above the Law, which was, Above the Law was basically a group that came up under NWA. They had 2 rap hits without radio support, which was wild. You know, like, how do you do that? Ice Cube will tell you. So you have, so the thing is that when you lose Cube is like the quarterback. Cube writes a lot of the rhymes. Cube comes up with a lot of the concepts. Cube was kind of the glue. And Cube was just like, I'm not being financially compensated in a way that represents my, you know, input and value to this group. And he bounced. And the first person to do it again, I mentioned on the previous episode, was a dude named Arabian Prince. He was like, I'm making y'all a lot of money and I'm not making it. I'm out. So when Cube leaves, first of all, the split was amicable at first. This is not talked about enough. The split was amicable at first. It was business. Cube said, I'm not fucking with Jerry. Easy, I mean, it is what it is. All right, then, bye. Hey, yo, Dre, you want to produce my solo album? I mean, I'm down. You can't. I can't. And then it was like, okay, we getting distributed by Priority. Priority calls Cube in office like, hey, Cube, you want to put out a solo album? Yeah, fine. We'll sign you directly to Priority. Cool. So can't have Dre do it. Fuck it. I'm going to go to New York. Well, actually, the whole Priority deal was, if y'all don't sign me, I'll just go to Def Jam because they love me over there. Fine, we'll sign you. Then he's like, well, I can't do the album with Dre, so I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to get some producers. And one of Ice Cube's favorite albums was the Cactus album by Third Base. So he was looking at the credits and he sees the main producer of that album, or one of the main producers of that album, is a dude named Sam Sever. I need to go to New York and find Sam Sever because I want him to produce on my album. Them beats was wild. He goes to New York, goes straight to the Def Jam offices. He's sitting there with Leor Cohen. Wild to think that happened. He's sitting there in the office with Leor Cohen. Sam Sever never shows up. He says, all right, then. So he's in New York. And he's just out. So he leaves the office, walks down this hall. Up the hall comes Chuck D, a Public Enemy. Oh, shit, Chuck, what's up? And now he's been on the phone with Chuck talking about the situation. Leaving NWA. So anyway, he's like, yo, Chuck, what's up? He's like, hey, you here? He's like, yeah, I'm here. He's like, I was supposed to be meeting with Sam Sever. Sam Sever never showed up. Oh, shit, we going to Green Street tonight. Me, the Bomb Squad, and Big Daddy Kane, we're going to produce this record, you know, Burn Hollywood Burn. You want to get down? He does that. So when we get to 100 Miles and Running, we've already come off of Ice Cube drops America's Most Wanted. All right? It's out there. It's burning shit down. There's no video. There's no radio support. All right? The singles are selling off strength of word of mouth. And NWA's like hearing about that, hearing about Cube. Because again, it was amicable at first. But people keep getting at them about Cube and Cube leaving. They gotta, puff their chest out and prove that We don't need you. Next man up. So DOC's gonna be writing rhymes. We're gonna need MC Ren to step up, start writing these rhymes. Ren, you need to write some harder shit for Dre to say. Because when you listen to Express Yourself, Dre's, I'm judging with full capabilities, and now I'm lifting the correctional facilities. Strapped like a druid, you know? It's funky when you add a subject and a predicate or that nerd shit. No, we need some hard shit. Some hard shit for Dre. And Dre, we want Dre rap. We want you to rap, motherfucker. Rap like your life depends on it. Because it does. Rap like your life depends on it. And Eazy, I know Cube used to write some nice shit for you to say so you could say it all slow and you didn't even have to be on beat. Motherfucker, be on beat and rap hard. This is our best foot forward. So that's what 100 Miles and Runnin is. To use the concept, a lot of it comes from the famous cult movie in the hood and now worldwide, The Warriors. That's the thread. 100 Miles and Runnin. The idea is like the Warriors being so far away from Coney Island in the Bronx that they got to get back to Coney Island. And New York, Manhattan, the boroughs are massive. California is massive. So they're 100 miles from Compton and we got to get back to Compton. So we got to make this feel like it's an event. That's why the song is the way it is.
It definitely does feel like an event too, because I turned this thing on this week, and the first thing I thought, it's a phrase we haven't really said lately around the show, I guess because it's become a bit of a buzzword, but we used to say audio cinema. Mm-hmm. And it definitely is. The sound design, the way it's structured. I mean, by the end, I'm a big fan of the fact that, you know, you get Eazy by the end, it's like he's 1 mile away. It's like, this is like odometer rap. Like we're actually running like and getting closer to Compton. I enjoy that aspect of it.
It's got this like energy to it that you just don't hear on the Straight Outta Compton album. There was not one song on that album to me with like more energy in the vocal delivery or a faster tempo. I mean, this was now it makes a lot more sense that Dart explained it, because I'm thinking to myself like, damn, the way that Dre especially is rapping on here, I have never heard him rap like this before.
Yeah.
He sounds energized. So fired up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it throws me for a loop because I'm not used to hearing him rap like this. And it makes sense why he's doing it. His back's against the wall. He sees what Cube is doing is like garnering praise. And he's kind of going adjacent to that. Like, this beat could have easily been like for a Big Daddy Kane song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was on my mind too is, you know, I find connective tissue between this and, you know, all the kids, they love their rage music these days. Like, to me, what's the difference? I'm getting the same energy. It has the same utility. I'm fired up listening to this song. This, to me, is no different than Playboi Carti or Yeet. Because like I found myself in the car starting to sweat a bit, and I'm like, why am I sweating? And it's like, well, I'm along the journey with these fine individuals from Compton, and they're running and they're yelling and they're screaming, and I'm appreciating it. I definitely picked up on the fact that Eazy sounds more polished as a rapper. He's locked in. And he's definitely sped things up a bit. It's interesting that I guess The Warriors was, you know, that's definitely a cult classic, would have inspired it. Because I had the thought, if maybe this song had inspired later rappers with the whole however many bars and run-in of it all, you know, maybe that came from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, definitely. All right, absolutely. Well... Yeah, you know, people like Game later on, all his bars and running.
He's the bars and running king, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and nobody else asked for it. He took it upon himself to do that. All right, no one was asking for it. The streets were not like, you know, when the kids say, "Who asked?" It was one of those situations.
Well, listen. As a 15-year-old at the time, Dart, was this rage music of the day?
So, 1990. there are things that are so like if you've read the disappointing De La Soul book that was written by Marcus J. Moore, he makes a lot of statements about De La Soul at that point in their career. And I'm like, the reason he has that perception is because he was too young to understand what the landscape of rap was at the time. So when you listen to 100 Miles of Running, it just ran in parallel with what was out at the time, 89 coming into 1990. You had Welcome to the Terror Dome is the lead joint from Public Enemy off their Fear of a Black Planet album. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Come on down. Get down. Come on. You can get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Like, it's like, that is like the blueprint. The blueprint for how, like, these records have to sound this year. So they had to put a record in like that because Cube's album opens with The Wrong Nigga to Fuck With. You know what I'm saying? Well, not The Wrong Nigga to Fuck With, but it opens with a song along that line. Like, A Wrong Nigga to Fuck With is like also like the template song. You know, like, how do you kick this album out? Cube would have a When Will They Shoot, Wrong Nigga to Fuck With, you know, like these type of records on his albums. So when you listen to how Cube's records go, and then when you listen to Cube's album, I like to explain that it's like DVD chapters. Like the chapters in the DVD. Like, it's made very intentionally so it flows. Now, this EP was not that case. This EP was, we got to put some shit out to let people know that we still out here and we're still dope without Cube. And we still matter in this space. Oh, and we also have to make our video a big, huge production. Because one of the things about NWA early on was that they weren't the most commercial-leaning rap group. Like, people bought their shit because it was, you know, rap written about all the time and it was controversial. When you make a song called Fuck the Police, the kids are going to run out and buy that Fuck the Police album, even if you tell them, you can't have it. The same thing happened with 2 Live Crew in the time, right?
Especially if you tell them you can't have it.
Yeah, especially if you tell them you can't have it. And you put stickers all over it. That was the big thing about 1990. Parental advisory stickers. So this is the big thing about NWA. They're just trying to put this flag in the ground. We're still the world's most dangerous rap group. And 100 Miles of Runnin is going to do that. But here's what it does also. Ice Cube made a point to not talk about NWA or diss NWA on America's Most Wanted. He was like, I'm making this album. This album's going to have its statements, going to have its through line. A lot of it is going to be stuff I wrote for Eazy and Dre that they didn't get to use because I left the group. And this is where I am now. But after Cube did that, because again, the split was amicable at first, but people kept coming to them, kept coming to NWA, kept coming to NWA, so they had to address it. So they talk shit about Cube. We had 5, the 5th couldn't make it.
Yeah.
The number's even, now we're leaving. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then like later on, you know, they, you know, throw some more shots at Cube on, you know, Just Don't Bite It and, you know, Surprise and, you know, Commercial, Real Nigga. Like, they just, the whole thing is just like going to Cube, which is what will lead us to what happens with Cube in the future. He's like, oh, y'all didn't leave it alone? Okay. But the thing was that 100 Miles of Running had to be that record, that song, that epic adventure, that event, the video, the single, you know, that let everybody know that, yo, we're still here. You know what I'm saying? And it's wild because when the video comes out, it allows for the song to like chart, but it doesn't blow up. Like, this isn't remembered as being like a gold and platinum single. Know what I'm saying? Like, right. If you go look up how far this went up the charts, you're like, huh? Like, that's it? Like, it was number 2 on the hot rap songs. But, bro, number 2 on the hot rap songs doesn't mean shit. Because you could be because think about it. Like UMC's had two one number one rap hit, and one number two rap hit, and like they were like still selling about 300,000 units of the album. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't really affect things. In order for a song to affect things, it had to cross over to the pop market. You know, right. That's when shit moved, and that's not the case. Like this was just pretty much them like, hey, we got to get on Arsenio. Because that's what it's all about. They got to get on Arsenio and do their little thing and perform at night on Arsenio. And this is also why Cube later says, you asked me, did I like Arsenio about as much as the Bicentennial? Because he had them, because on September 28th, 1990, everybody remembers it because the school year hadn't just kicked off for too long. You know, he had, you know, NWA on there, and he had this whole event thing, and he set it up like it was wrestling. You know what I'm saying? And then they had the whole dramatic event happen, and then, you know, Eazy-E does his whole verse running, which is like, why you do this? Why do this? Why do this? And the video was like fucking a Michael Jackson video. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Like
they treated that shit like it was like bad. Like, what? There's explosions and stunts? This ain't y'all. Like, is this necessary? Like,
they just have to prove to everyone that everything is fine.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like, we're good. We're fine. We're still viable. The album's gonna be dope. So, like, that was the whole thing. But that was 100 Miles and Running. Like, it was like people had the EP and they just listened to it to hear them diss Cube. And I can't put it any other way. Like, we're still dope without Cube, and fuck Cube. That was basically the whole idea of the EP.
I like this record the most out of any song on this EP. It's an 8- for me. Dig Me Baby.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say it's a 7+ for me. It's my favorite song on the EP. But well, I'm thinking about it. If they were on Arsenio, basically being as fake as wrestling and suddenly deciding that they need to diss Cube, they were on their Bret Hart telling Cube,
thanks for nothing. Go yourselves.
You know?
I think that would sum it up.
But it's interesting to me because they're in this in-between spot where they've established themselves. They're, you know, the world's most dangerous group. You know, you got white kids probably with their posters and on their walls and their CDs hidden under the bed so their parents don't know. So they have to double down on what's now their brand. And so when I hear, like, I didn't stutter when I said fuck the police, I assume, yeah, they probably felt that way for sure. But part of it is we need to make sure that they understand we're going to keep giving them this thing they like. Because I understand, you know, in the rap game, even that early on, once you get on, you might feel pressure to attune your sound to pop radio or try to ascend even higher. But it's their unique position being the bad boys of the music industry. You have to signal to the audience, like, no, it's still fuck the police. It's still this and it's still that. And how it sounds, too, with the Cube situation is it was pretty much unprompted, but they just let people get in their ears enough where they felt like tying into the bad boy image is like, well, let's fucking diss Cube because, you know, they're talking about him so much and, you know, it wouldn't be on brand for us to act like we don't hear it. You know, we're the group that says fuck the police. You think we won't say fuck the ex-member? So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, though, because, you know, you have an amicable split. They could have just kept it that way and they could have worked on stuff later on down the line together. But just,
they pretty much told Cube when he left, hey, there's the door. You can go flop like Arabian Prince. Like, that was what they told him. And when he was like, yo, I'm going to work with Public Enemy, you ain't going to sell no records fucking with Public Enemy, which is weird because they toured with Public Enemy. Public Enemy graciously had them on tour. Chuck would fucking walk them through the game. And on top of that, guys, the Bomb Squad saying that you're not going to blow up with the Bomb Squad. Guys, in 1990, do you know what the Bomb Squad did? They produced, so they had produced on this album that went like platinum and had a bunch of hits on it called I don't know if you heard of it or not, Fear of a Black Planet. And but here's what's crazy. The month before that platinum album with all the hits on it came out, they worked on a multi-platinum album with a whole bunch of hits on it by this group from Boston, from Roxbury specifically, called Belle Biv DeVoe, and the album was called Poison.
Wow.
So like the Bomb Squad were very much in demand, and they had plaques all over the place. So, and then on top of that, they work on this Cube album, which sells like hotcakes made of crack batter without a video or radio airplay. Which means that Priority is spending almost very little on promotions, and they're making very much on money. Yes, I meant to say that, very much on money. Even I've taught. I know it's wrong. I know it's grammatically wrong, but I said it, and I knew I said it when I said it. And I even addressed it when I said it, because I knew when I said it and it came out, and you're going to hear this, and I'm going to hear it later and be like, I really said that. So I'm in the future right now. I'm so self-aware. I'm actually in the future.
There you go, folks. Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me that NWA, I guess, miscalculated. I mean, they assumed he would flop, but that wasn't really a safe assumption.
Well, there was that famous ad too. This was for America's Most Wanted, which was like a wanted poster for Ice Cube. And, I have some of the nomenclature here. It's like, since he left NWA, Ice Cube's been on the run from LA to New York. In NYC, he joined forces with Public Enemy's Chuck D to record Ice Cube's solo debut album, America's Most Wanted. And, the way it's framed, it's just like, the lore of him going from LA to New York to record with the Bomb Squad, that's what they're using to draw interest in the album.
Oh, absolutely. But think about the fact that NWA was a supergroup. You mentioned earlier you didn't hear anything like this, 100 Miles of Running on a Straight Outta Compton. There's a reason.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty much doing the thing that New Edition did. But New Edition didn't do it the same way because they didn't consciously do it. They consciously did it. NWA, Dre had already shopped out different pieces of himself. He had already given Michelle A to this label. He'd already given DOC to this label. He'd already had, what's them girl's name? Supersonic. JJ Fad, even though that was more of Arabian Princess thing. To Atlantic. So he was already thinking, with Straight Outta Compton, we're going to get a solo this album. We're going to get another solo Eazy-E album. We're going to try to get a Ren album out of that. We're going to try to do something else. So basically, he was setting everybody else up for their solo attempt. Because he knew they were going to tour and they were going to sell different pieces. The show has different pieces. Eazy-E has his set. You know what I'm saying? We have our set. Our other crew member has a set. DOC has his set. So that was the whole thinking going in. And that's why when you hear Straight Outta Compton, it's a kind of a departure from what you hear in 100 Miles of Running, because they're like, oh, no, it's all about NWA the Unit. We're going to sell you on NWA the Unit because we've already lost an Arabian Prince to Orpheus Records, and we already lost Cube. But it's okay. It's okay. Next man up. And you got to remember that at this time, DOC was not going to be recording anymore because he had the accident and fucked up his vocal cords. So they weren't angling to get the next DOC album out. That wasn't a possibility. You know what I'm saying? They weren't necessarily angling out to get the next Eazy-E thing out. They knew that the next thing they had to do was they had to sell the world on NWA as a unit.
And I mean, it seems to me, just from what I know about, hip hop and history, that Well, I'll just ask: was it a successful pitch? Because I feel like relative to Ice Cube's success going forward, people didn't really buy the remodeled version of them as much as the original group.
Well, see, the thing was that all they had to do was believe that they're dope without Cube and Arabian Prince, and the rest would work itself out because they had Dre, right?
Right.
It's the same idea behind when people were down on LL Cool J after he put out that, you know, that shit brick in summer 1989, that bloated album, you know, the cocaine album, as I like to call it.
Walking with a Panther. Right?
Yeah, Walking with a Panther. They knew, oh, he's gonna be okay because he got back with Marley Marl to make, you know, a Legal Search and Jingling Baby remix. And then he did To the Break of Dawn on the soundtrack of House Party. So LL's gonna be fine. That's all they needed to do. Like, To the Break of Dawn didn't go gold or platinum. It didn't have to. It just needed to sell the public on, oh, his next album's gonna be dope. And that's pretty much the same thing with what happened with you know, this EP. Matter of fact, how did the EP sell? RIAA, Platinum and Gold, NWA. I just go 100 miles of running because if I do NWA, they're gonna make me put in all the fucking the Run DMC makes me want to punch somebody in the face because it's like they make you do the RUN-D.M.C. And I'm like, are you on drugs? So 100 miles and running, it went platinum. Short form album. Went gold November 16th, 1990. Went platinum September 16th, 1992.
Okay.
So, I mean, it went gold pretty quickly. So it did what it's supposed to. Now, if you go and look at NWA and you're like, it led to, you know, what their next album was, which did very well. Like, that's what did the numbers. Like, that's what kind of scared America. When E Phil for Zaggin dropped. And they were like, wait a minute. White children would have to buy this album at that rate? America's in danger, you know, and now there might not be an America in 6 months. So, you know, it's what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah. You know, I was gonna ask, so I'm glad. Okay, I didn't know how the second and final album of NWA's performed, but so they were successful.
It went platinum. It went platinum in months, but it didn't go any further than that because I feel everybody knew that like something else is on this horizon. You know, like something else is on the horizon. Like they knew the NWA was on the way out. You know, because later on, Ren puts out his solo EP, "Kiss My Black Ass." You know, Eazy-E goes solo again. You know, Dre's like, let me do something else. So yeah, it is what it is.
I see. Well, what I wanted to point out, now this is just, I'd have to blame my rapper brain, but it was in hearing the song, two, I guess, of the technical aspects of the rapping stood out to me because I've heard it before, but just for some reason this week, and I feel like he got phased out in rap going forward, but I've always liked this. The first thing is in the flow. He's like, you know, now I'm creeping through the fog. That, like, I feel like that was in a lot of songs back then. Like they would drag that word out. But also what the thing that really hit me is in rhyming, they would emphasize the word before the actual rhyme. So it's fog. And then he said, running like a G, we'll see I'm at a slight jog. Like jog is the rhyme with fog, but he emphasized slight. And like, I noticed that was pretty prevalent in older rap, but like then I never hear that anymore. You know, it's just an interesting thing that I picked up on just as a rapper.
Well, I mean, it's a thing about cadences and flows, right? That when you listen to rappers between 88, 89 into 90, and this a new era, and people are coming up with new cadences and new flows, and you gotta keep up. So when you listen to like, if you go back and listen to a song like King Son's Mythological Rapper, you know what I'm saying? When he did that record, he was so ahead of his time that he released that album. I mean, he released that single like ahead of time. And then it was on his album, his next album, and people are still catching up to it. And people are still catching up to that flow and that style of rap that he did like 2 years ago already. You know, so like there was this, again, I mentioned in 1990, there's a split now because this is the beginning of a new era. 1989 is the end of the first golden era. I tell people this all the time. 1990 was a new era because when you come to the top of that era, you have MC Hammer, Drop Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em, right? But then you also are coming off of Expression by Salt and Pepper. You know, 1990 is a very interesting year because a lot of songs hit and crossed over. A lot. Because we're coming off Me, Myself, and I, you know, being a crossover hit, right? So anybody who's paying attention at the end of 1989 knows 1990 is the year we're going to see a rap song hit number one on the Billboard charts. Now, why is that amazing? Because Black radio didn't support rap. So in order for a song to hit number one on the Billboard chart, it would have happened sooner had Black radio supported rap enough to play it while the sun was up, report the ads accurately, because they did not. They never did this. All the stations didn't. Some stations would play a rap song and then not even add it to the ads, the plays that they submit for the regional reports. But what would always come up is the sales. So you would go to the sales report, the regional sales report, and also the sales report that came out in every Billboard. So you would track the rap singles, but you realize that the rap singles would stop at 30, but then you would look at the R&B charts, you'd be like, if this is the number one song on the R&B charts, on the rap charts, it's not even on the R&B charts. But then sometimes the number one rap song on the rap charts is number 25 on the R&B charts. You're like, how is that? What the fuck is going on? So there was this weird thing where, like, let's say Mellow Man Ace's Mentirosa, which blows up. It goes from, you see it high on the rap charts, and all of a sudden you look at the R&B charts, and that shit is like number 25. But then you go to the Hot 100, and that shit is number 40. And you're like, wait. So this is selling. And then the video shows up on Yo MTV Raps, but then the video's on MBT too. So that's a gauge. You're like, holy shit. This dude's rapping in English and Spanish. This shit is blowing up. And that's when you get the call from Arsenio.
All right.
And that's when you know. When you go on Arsenio, you're like, oh, this shit is out of here. Same thing with like the Humpty Dance. You know? It's the same exact thing with Humpty Dance. So you have the Humpty Dance, you have Mentirosa, you have like we're coming off of Bismarck's, you know, Just a Friend had blown up leading to the, so everybody paying attention knew that this is going to be the year that a rap song is going to hit number one on the Billboard charts, even without Black radio support. Because what did happen was, guys, it's going to sound crazy, top 40 radio started playing rap singles. Top 40 radio. Sometimes a rock station would play a rap song before Black radio did. The most racist, part of radio is white radio. They are so, and they would play a Bismarcky song. They would play, they would play this song. They would play MC Hammer song. They would play a Vanilla Ice song. They would play a Beastie Boys song. And Black radio would be like, we ain't playing that shit while the sun's up. But college radio played it. But college radio didn't report on the same level as, like, you know, on Billboard. They had a different chart entirely, CMJ and all the other stuff. So what I'm telling you is that 1990 is this really weird time where rap is crossing over and everybody's in this weird space where it's like, hey, we ain't crossing over. We ain't selling out. But NWA is like, we making the hardest rap in the world. And then all the white kids run out and they're like, yeah. And we have their posters on their wall and they're like, yeah. And then people looking at Billboard like, did this album by these angry niggas just outsell the whitest rock group in the history of history? And they're like, yep. oh, we're all going to hell. We're all going to hell. Yes, we are. America is going to hell. And America, I just wanted to let you know, America is always going to hell. But it's really going to hell now. But it's always going to hell. We might have a different name, but we're still going to hell. So,
But folks, I'm with Dark because I look outside every day and I'm definitely.
Did you hear what just happened outside my window? Some Mad Max Fury Road shit. I'm telling you, this shit is crazy. It's the worst it's ever been.
Folks, listen, all right?
This about to get so depressing.
That's why you gotta,
What
be
did
with your
Quick say
family
before
and-
he quit Twitter, Mel?
What's that?
DJ Quick said what?
Oh,
before he quit Twitter?
one of our favorite tweets. Hold on, verbatim. He said, what was it? Optimism is daring.
Optimism is risky as America enters its doomer age.
There it is.
yes. And
There it
he's
is.
absolutely David Blake ain't never lied.
Okay, we love Quick around here, and he was on the money with that years before people were even really realizing it. But it's crazy to me to think that Black radio was late to the party.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I just have to correct you there. It's not Black radio was late to the party. Black radio didn't want the party to happen, period.
Oh.
Okay? It wasn't late to the party. It didn't want there to be a party. Black radio at every point, if R&B looked like it was getting a little too close, if the mashed potatoes look like they're too close to the greens and the green juice is going to get in the mashed potatoes, they wanted to take the drain the plate, take the green beans off the plate, put it in a separate container entirely.
Wow.
And I am not exaggerating with that. That was the level of resistance that Black radio had to rap. But what ended up happening was, and I could write a book about this, but motherfuckers wouldn't, no publisher would let me do it, is, and I'm dead ass, what happened was R&B was the space of R&B Black music was very resistant to the New Jack Swing era of R&B. But what happened was between 1988 and 1989 into 1990, it took over anyway. And it became the default sound of R&B to the point where, the Shirelles of the world and the Peabo Brysons and the Melba Moores and the, all these other groups, had to become adult contemporary acts pretty much, because the sound of R&B was quite literally what it sounded like in 1992 on the radio. Mary J. Blige, SWV, Don't Walk Away. That's what R&B sounded like. Jodeci, Come and Talk to Me. The fucking hard drums. That's what R&B became by 1992. And that happened as a byproduct of them being very resistant to rap. So by the time we get to 92, 93, where rap is, and R&B like that, and New Jack Swingish R&B is the sound of Black music now, all the people that were resistant were fucking out the game. They were out. Like, quite literally out. They tried, they fought, they were out.
I didn't know Black radio in the late 80s and early 90s was like Mel.
Not like me. Listen, no. All right. Yeah, very funny. Okay. All right. I mean, here's the thing. This definitely breaks. I mean, in my head, the myth was back then they were like,
Now Black music is Black music and it's all good.
but apparently not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Dude.
Wow.
Think about like Keith Sweat's I Want Her, right? It's the sound the young people love in 1987. Dun, 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 I wanna. It's very, you can rap to that shit. Teddy Riley was making R&B, and then he would turn around and give some shit to like Kool Mo D. He was like, here. Same beat. I used to live downtown. 129th Street. So think about all the traditional R&B groups like, Midnight Star, Atlantic Star, Star Point. I keep saying Star. Like the traditional Black R&B groups. Like there's people that grew up with Frankie Beverly and Maze. That's Black music. That's R&B. That's what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like Teddy Pendergrass's R&B is what it sounds like. But when you get to like the late 80s, the shit shifts so that somebody who's a traditional R&B artist ain't get like, think of Diana Ross had to start working with different producers and make songs like Working Overtime to have a hit. And you go listen to Working Overtime, you're like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the era of L.A. Reid and Babyface. They could give you a whip appeal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the era of, the dudes, Terry and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. It's that era. It's the era of Foster and McElroy. It's all that shit. But again, when you listen to a Full Force, Full Force could give you a traditional melody. They could give you a traditional ballad, R&B ballad, a slow song. But they were also producing for UTFO. They were also producing for Mixmaster Ice. So you got to think about it. Like, they later produced for 98 Degrees and NSYNC.
Right.
But they were producing rap records for Whistle. So this was the thing that black traditional black music, or the traditional black music space, was fighting against. They did not want rap to take over, but it did. And then when it did, rap had a completely different stance because y'all didn't want us in the party at all. So we had to buy the building and kick you all old asses out.
That's so interesting to me, because here's the thing. I love New Jack Swing. I was raised on it, but I feel like coming of age in the late 2000s into the early 2010s and everything, the conversation at that time would have you believe that people got, I guess, adult contemporaryized due to the alternative R&B of a Weeknd or Frank Ocean or Bryson Tiller or what have you. But it sounds to me that shift actually happened in the late 80s, early 90s. And we're just seeing a continuance of that, because
I mean, you had Keith Washington, you have Keith Washington out, you know what I'm saying? You have Rachel Farrell, but Rachel Farrell earlier in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? Like a Phyllis Hyman. What was Phyllis Hyman going to do in fucking 1993? She didn't live to 1993, but I'm saying, our singer like Phyllis Hyman, you know what I'm saying? Right. What would she be doing in 1993? If you listen to the radio in 1993, I mean, you're going to compete with Freak Like Me by Adina Howard. What the fuck are you going to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna compete with TLC? Doing what?
And I mean, that's a shame to me though, because I love traditional R&B. That's the other thing I was raised on. I was living for a ballad or a slow song here or there.
I mean, you still got it, but I mean, Whitney Houston is making. Right. Do you listen to her remix to "My Name Is Not Susan" with Moni Love on the hook? She was waiting to do that. She couldn't wait to do that, and then listen to Mariah Carey, I had a vision of love. We're coming up on the 35th anniversary of that album dropping. But she was young. So when she drops Someday and she's doing the Running Man in the video, people are like, wait, huh? And they're confused. And I'm like,
see the hip hop creep in.
Yeah.
No matter what the resistance is.
Yeah, they're they're confused. It's like this Vision of Love girl is doing the Running Man. And she's she's rapping, listen to these drums. This shit smack. So and then when she goes on later in her career, people are like, oh, wait, you can make this type of R&B and still do that, Right. So it was weird, because had they not resisted, we could have gotten it all. But the resistance and fighting tooth and nail to make it not happen is what led to where we got to.
Wow. Yeah, so the extinction happened really because of their resistance to the new wave, instead of adopting it and just figuring out how to. Yeah, that's wow.
And the one person who actually was telling everybody to not do that was Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones was ahead of the curve. The fucking, and that's why he won so many goddamn awards on Back on the Block, because he had the rappers with the old jazz singers, with the R&B singers, with the musicians, and he had everybody all together, and he figured out a way to make it all work, and he made a masterpiece. And other people were just like, I ain't doing that shit. Miles Davis was like, yo, I'm going to get Easy Mo B and his boys, and we're going to make an album called Doo-Bop. And everybody else was like, that's cool. I ain't doing that shit. Guru said, I'm making Jazzmatazz. Greg Osby made 3D Lifestyles, like all these jazz musicians, but Shot LaFunk happens. And then other people are just like, you know what, maybe I should stop being so resistant and angry. And Winston Marsalis's brother, Bradford, decided to go the other direction and be a complete asshole. And Stanley Crouch decided to be an asshole. So there's always this resistance from Black music spaces, even though you think they'd be the most open-minded. And it's sad.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I was talking to my dad, and he introduced me to someone that he met, a friend of his, and we spoke on the phone. As an old musician, trying to remember his name. Yeah, Benjamin Wright was his name. And I spoke to him on the phone just about music for like an hour, and I was explaining to him what I do. And this guy is heavily accomplished. Like, it was a great conversation. Like, he's worked with Quincy Jones, he's worked with Michael Jackson and Outkast and Drew Hill, a whole breadth of names. But I was talking to him, and he was silent for a second. He was like, I'm gonna tell you something. Fuck rap. And I was like, oh wow, because I guess I assume with all the people, all the different generations he'd worked with, that he would maybe have like some level of appreciation. But I understood, though, because there's a lot of days where I'm like, yeah, maybe this rap was a mistake. I'm in love with it, but at the same time, like, it's this love-hate relationship that's mostly love. But I could see how rap would just feel like such a threat.
Well, I'm going to end with this. I personally know a bunch of great, legendary musicians, writers, arrangers, vocalists, people who just worked in studios and worked with artists of all kinds. And they worked with one kind of artist for the longest stretch of time. They, were bandmates, they could do tours, they could do session work, all this stuff. And then when the music industry changed, they had to adapt. They were forced to adapt. So one day you're working with bands, then you're working with individuals. You're working with instruments. Now you're working with equipment. Now you're working with a board. Now you're working with plugins. Now you're working with rap groups. Now you're working with rappers. Now they're sampling your shit. Now, in order to make money, you got to let them sample your shit. Or you got to go and get on their record and play with them. Because it's the only way to put food on your table or stay afloat. So you work with these guys who appreciate your music and you talk to them, but you fucking hate it because you were forced to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have to tour I have to be a backing band for these rap niggas. And I can't just be a tour doing my own music.
Right.
I got to play a version of the shit I made 30 years ago that they are rapping over. So that's another thing to think about. Like, Prince Charles Alexander, man, he told me flat out, he was like, yo, I appreciate rap. I was rapping back in 1980, but I was trying to do my funk thing, and it just got to a point where I couldn't do my funk thing anymore, and I had to work with nothing but rappers and rap groups and work with them in the studio and get them up to speed on musicianship and sound and dynamics and all this other stuff. He's like, so I could have been bitter and angry, but I was still working, and I ended up having great relationships with people. But there were the other guys older than me, because he started his career when he was 14, 15, 16, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he was making rap records in 1979, 1980, So he had a different level of understanding of this. But if motherfuckers who were 15, 20 years older than him hated rap, but they still worked in the space because you got to eat. You got to go to the studio. It's the job. It's just like when you work for Michael Jackson. He's like, hey, could you put something in here? Quincy Jones says, hey, fill that in. And everybody loves that part, but you only got paid for that session. And that album goes on to make a bunch of money. And you don't make any extra money. So, yes, Greg Fillinganes has worked on a lot of albums and contributed a whole bunch of stuff, but I bet you Greg Fillinganes still pissed off about what happened with him and Q and Michael Jackson, even though he loves them dudes. So it's a little perspective.
That perspective makes perfect sense. I mean, it's the parallel I would say is like, right now, just in the realm of podcasting, it's like it is shifted from, it was an audio medium. It's what it's supposed to be. It's how it started. But now it's just these visual podcasts. To most people, that's what a podcast is people in a room with lighting and camera angles talking. And, for what we do, we talk at length about rap. It's like, why is that necessary? For you to see us? It's the same information. So it's like, we're resistant to that because we don't really see the utility in that for what we do, but we know it's shifting toward it has shifted. The shift completed. But yeah, I can understand how you would develop a resentment because we've definitely developed it, So, but we have to constantly think about, well, how can we adapt? How can we add a visual component or do this or do that? So, yeah, I get it for sure. But yeah, I mean, 100 miles and running though.
100 miles and running. But Dart, we'll actually see you next week because you'll be joining us again for this Ice Cube Kill It Will EP review, specifically Jackin' for Beats. So
that's going to be good.
Until then, we will say goodbye for now, but we'll see you very soon.
Word.
Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast.